So, hi guys, my name's Hayden Crawford, and I'm a wellness coach and spiritual teacher specializing in color therapy and numerology. And today on Cosmic Conversations, we are looking at the subject of ayahuasca and using ayahuasca and other plant-based medicines for treating trauma, and also diversifying a little bit and finding out what other types of experiences can happen when we use substances like that in the proper way through ceremonies, etc., and also through, just experimenting in general. So I've got Mimi with me today, Mimi Chow and Henry Chow. So they're a beautiful couple, and they live in California. And Anthony Travaglioni as well, who's actually a footy oval in Adelaide today, and I'm in Perth in Western Australia. So welcome, guys. It's nice to have you guys with me today, and it's a bit of a continuation really from the last conversation that we had in a group of 7 of us last month. So this time we really want to explore this subject of trauma in a little bit more detail, because it's kind of what is seems to be quite fascinating for a lot of people. So who wants to start off?
Yes, so as a child, I had a pretty dramatic experience growing up. Um, you know, um, my father was a drunk, and my mother was basically, she was working full-time job and take care of me as her child, and my dad was a drunk, and he was, a depressed man, a hurt man, and he would basically exert his anger through physically hurting my mom. And so as a child, at 2, 3 years old, witnessing your father, especially basically ground and pounding my mom in front of me. And I cried and I was hurt as a kid. And that experience left me traumatized. And then from that point on, I stuttered for most of my life up to probably 5 years ago. And with the journey of the healing of modern ayahuasca now, has basically opened up my throat chakra, and it helped me heal, and I don't stutter as much as I used to any longer. So aside from that, the 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 traumatized experience I had as a child essentially was unconsciously stuck in my body, and I was never healed. And when Braden was born, it was the probably one of the best moments of my life, aside the moment that I married my wife. Um, and then I became a father. And as he grew up and as he become more mature, and I noticed that the habits that my biological father had on me, it it came out through me, through my anger. And I was subconsciously was angry at my son for no reason, and sometimes at my wife, right? And I don't know where this anger is coming from. It's, and at that moment, it's like, okay, I can't be like that anymore. And and I'm and I consider myself as a person that loves my wife and my family very much. So fortunately, I was very aware of my actions. I'm like, wait, I can't continue to do this, because if I continue to do this, I'm repeating the cycle for my family again. Um, and through the grace of the universe and God, we were introduced to grandmother ayahuasca. Um, Growing up as a Catholic and growing up to in a Asian family, the word psychedelics and anything as such is very taboo, like very, very taboo. Like, what the fuck are you
What
doing?
is that? Yeah.
What is that? This is like the devil, no, 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 no. So I was hesitant when it was introduced to me, but I always had faith. I'm like, well, and I did some research on it. One time I was watching a documentary on ayahuasca just to learn more about it and how it impacted people's life. And and I said, and I had no idea why I was actually researching that, but I felt like the universe kind of moved me to there. It God kind of direct me there, so I can so that it can help me heal. Um, it- um, so my first ayahuasca experience, I was very scared, to be honest with you. I was very hesitant because I know that I'm about to enter a world that I've never experienced before, and I knew that, but I was scared.
What were you
So
scared of? What was it? What was the fear? Like,
Was it just the unknown?
yeah, just the unknown, just all the programming I had about how this is so bad for you, right? So it's that your body mechanism is kind of like that fear radar start going off because the software has been always been programmed like that. Um, but I wasn't like I was scared a little bit, but I wasn't afraid. I wasn't fearful of it. Um, and then I had a journey, and it was one most beautiful journey. It was I saw a lot of sacred geometries floating around me, and I'm like, okay, I hear you and feel you, God, and I hear and feel your grandmother, and my body just starts shaking. It just started as if it's waking up. My body just literally vibrating and moving. Essentially, I was in control of my body, but my body was just it's moving by itself to kind of like as if it's stretching out, like I'm waking up, right? Um, so that was my first experience, but the most transformative experience I had with the medicine is when my wife and I went to a meditation retreat in Mexico, um, which was hosted by world class One Heart, and it was 1 week. And during this journey, we had facilitators that specialize in breath work, in yoga, life coaches. Essentially, we had 3 nights of ayahuasca journey. So one back to back, and then pause. And the second one is the last day, which is the day journey. Um, so skip forward. My very first journey with One Heart was the day that I wouldn't that has imprinted in my memory forever. So I took the cup and then I you know, just kind of anticipating it's going to happen, right? It's going to happen like here it goes. And then the way that it happened, it was so elegantly. It was like I saw like a earth tone color of grandmother ayahuasca, which is her face, and it's very similar to like the Buddha face, very humble, kind, and just like smiling. And then the next thing, as if like I'm at a movie theater, imagine like her face just kind of like spread out, kind of shift out, And this is what happened. And I am not making this up by any means. The first thing I heard in my mind is, "Wake up, General. Welcome to the new Earth." And I was like, "What now?" I was like, "What? Who are you talking to?" And then I keep hearing all this voice in my head, and another voice come up, "Wake up, Commander. Welcome to the new Earth." And then I would start breathing. The medicine really start working on me now, and very stirring up emotions. And then next, I see the the great. I hear stories, and I hear a grandmother explaining to me of who I am, and the message I got from her is, "You are a galactic commander, and you are a descendant of Archangel Michael." When I hear that, I just shook because I'm like, it's like, no, this is 2 grand. I'm like, no, this is, and then the next thing, I hear her voice saying that you are eternal, abundance is your birthright. You are eternal, abundance is your birthright. And then that really hits home because in my heart, that's that's who we are. That's our soul, right? Our soul is eternal, and we are abundance, and we are our own teacher, and we are our own healer. So those are the messages I'm getting download. And as I was downloading, and I see, a big galactic battle going on with one of my star fleets with, against negative energy, and it's just chaotic and people screaming and yelling and in a galactic battle. And the next thing is shifted to the new world, a new earth, and how beautiful it is, like how humanity is gonna go into this awakening, and how our planet is gonna be fulfilled and with love and beautiful. And I see children playing, and I see, a planet, the trees, communicate like we are one with nature. Like we can literally communicate with nature. Um, so that's the version of Earth I saw. And yeah, it was a very powerful experience I had. And I saw my high self. So I saw my high self at this. So my high self is a galactic commander. So that's who I saw in my Aya. And this version of me is here to experience, to help bring in this new vision of the new earth. Um, and it's scary because, I never had any thought of any of this before. And now, and I don't believe in coincidences. Once you're in tune um, with everything around you, and how everything is a vibration and frequencies, nothing is a coincidence. And the memory, the messages I get, no matter how ridiculous it sound, but deep down my heart, was like, well, the God and universe wants me to hear, to see, and to feel it. So, and have faith and believe in it. And so that high version of myself as a galactic commander, this person I saw is a very graceful gentleman, a loving father, um, a loving husband, and that he's very fierce with, in terms of fierce, as is defending and protector of the people, and especially children. Like, don't get me started on the things that's been happening to our children, but I saw the darkness of that. I went through that journey. I saw it all. God showed me everything that has happened to humanity. Um, and it made me in my journey. So she is my wife. I saw her in my journey as my wife. So I am here to help bring a new earth. And she told me that she want to come back with me in this journey to help me wake up, to help me remember who I am. So she's here because she loved me so much that she wants to be here to help me wake up, you know. Um, and of course, she helped with that. And from that point on, I became a better father. I'm more gentle. I am more graceful, and I adore my wife, and I love, like, I'm just very patient with my son, and everything is a play with him now, right? Everything I do with him is play. Um,
Can I
so
add?
sure, baby.
Can I add something? Because you brought up like the whole journey about the trauma with your dad. And by the way, we have sat together 8 ceremonies all together. So we have really experienced this in ceremony, and we process it with each other outside of it. So I think that's kind of like beautiful when you come into a ceremony with your friends, maybe, because I've seen, like, even at One Heart, our like we had people that went with their friends, and then they stay together in the same room. So there's this like beautiful processing. So when Henry and I come out of it, we would share like what we experienced or visions. So when he was talking about the first ceremony, it's similar to ayahuasca. I think I mentioned in the last one. It's called daime, and daime is Brazilian, but it also has the ayahuasca vine in it. And I would say that first daime experience was so divine, so beautiful, deep, and just powerful. And maybe that is something when we're experiencing something for the first time, it feels that way, right? It's something about the first. And so you were talking about like going into it, you had all these trauma, and you experienced like the physical like violence your dad with your mom and your dad. But what I remember, your first experience was so powerful because there was this whole thing about like how you saw a whole timeline of what was happening that led up to the first ceremony. And then there was this whole thing of like the experience, I won't give it away, but it was like this whole experience with his dad on the other side, because his dad had already passed like way long ago. And so they had this whole like experience together, and that was healing. So I would love to hear you share that with people, because that was like incredible of that first experience that you went through.
Oh, thank you, baby. Thank you for that. So what Mimi was referring to is in my journey, I felt oneness for the first time. And so I had a conversations. So I heard a voice. And the voice was, so as I was breathing hard and I was going through my like unplugged from the matrix feeling, I hear a voice and it says, Father. And then I says, is that Braden? So Braden is my son right now. He's 5 years old right now. And then I said, Braden, is that you? And then the voice come back and says, yes, Father, this is Braden. Right? So I found out that my high self reincarnated in this planet to learn to go through growth to go through a soul lesson, and also to help bring a new earth. So I am that version of my high self on this reincarnation. And then my son is so he's actually a galactic commander himself as well. So he is basically, he's like, Father, you got this. And then he's commanding the fleet so that I can do my soul journey here. And then a voice come on. And then he said, so like I have a vision of my dad. I never see my dad. I never met my dad. I never know what he looks like. But all I know is my mom said that he looks like me. Right. So I'm looking at myself like, is this what my dad looked like? But then another voice came through. So I was like, is that you, Braden? It's like, Braden, yes. And then I had this vision of my dad. And then this is what kind of got me thinking is, my dad image came on, and then it's like, and then Braden's voice like, Father, I am your dad, and now I am your son. So it's like for you to heal this, I need to be a dad for my son, for break the cycle. Let me repeat that. I say, Braden says, Father. I'm saying, Braden, is that you? He says, yes. And I saw a vision of my dad. And then the voice came back and says, Father, I am also your dad. So he volunteered. He had his sole mission to be my father, to be up, to basically to go through that pain, to go through that soul evolution of learning a painful lesson of hurting what you love, right? So he actually did it for his own soul growth, but he was my father. And then now he's like back here as my son. So he's like, that's the lesson that grandmother ayahuasca only let you, like, every journey is different. My story has nothing to do with how you're gonna feel. I guarantee it. Everyone's different. So don't expect what you hear thing. I may sound crazy to anyone like, hey, wait, I don't have that experience. Um, that's how, like, the reason why I'm pointing out is that's how grandmother Aya is gonna teach you, it's gonna show you. You don't learn from words, you don't learn by, someone tell you, not even about experience, but this is like how you feel. And she teaches this is that. So like, so you want to heal this from your dad, right? Be the father that you wish you had. By doing that, I had to do my own healing through grandmother Aya so that I do not pass on that trauma to my son. Wow. Like, and from that point, I'm so humble and so grateful to the plant medicine. Um, and it's just like, wow, this is like God's way of communicating to us and bringing us back to our source and to heal our trauma. So that's that lesson in itself is like, wow. And then that's when I felt oneness. And of course I saw me returning to source and going through this galactic, it's like
Returning to source.
like planet Earth and solar system, galactic, boom, 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 and just back to the singularity. And then like, I start laughing, like, man, this is a cosmic joke.
Mhm. What do you think, Hayden?
Well, it's beautiful. I mean, it just fills my heart full of joy that that you've had these realizations and that you felt it and it's sunk in, because I can see the transformation that you must have gone through very clearly, and it's amazing that Braden was your father, and that this is how the healing is taking place. And so yeah, it blows me away to hear this story, and I can feel how genuine it is as well because of your background. I mean, obviously I've never met Henry before, so I don't know much about you, but I can sort of, from what you said, is coming from that sort of very strict upbringing, and not being able to have these types of medicines sort of be sort of approved by members of the family, and for you to have broken the cycle and to have explored it and had such revelations, and actually to then be in control of your own sort of breaking of those ancestral patterns is absolutely where it's all at. And even more interesting to me actually is this fact that you are here to bring in the new earth through this awakening process that you're going through. So watch this space is what I'm feeling. It's like, it's interesting that you two have chosen to help each other, sort of move forward. And I can see the work that you're going to be doing in the future is going to help other people to have these same realizations. Now I'd like to bring Anthony in at this point, because like Anthony is somebody that I connected with a while ago now, and he also was told actually during one of the classes that I was running on, I think it was the Lionsgate activation portal, by this girl, just sort of was one of I've never seen her since, actually. She's never been in any of my groups after them, but she sort of spoke out and said, you're a commander to Anthony. And it was quite interesting because I think it was a revelation for you as well, because you'd had these sort of feelings that and you'd been receiving this word just through meditation, I think, hadn't you? And
Wow.
so I think that that why I wanted to bring you into this, Anthony, is because I wanted you to feel this truth coming in as well from Henry, and help it to almost pacify and authenticate these feelings for yourself. So did you relate to what Henry was saying? Could you feel that in your heart as well?
I just know it as truth. I mean, it would be impossible for me to truly understand it because I can never experience what you experience, which is why it's to a point I just love it so much. But to another point, it's almost hard to talk about because nobody can ever truly understand what it is that you experienced. Yeah, it's an interesting life, man. The trauma is very interesting. The growth period is very interesting. If I can bring this in another direction, if that's all right, and just actually speak a little bit about trauma itself. So why this is such a perfect topic is because trauma is a topic that every person on the planet can relate to. So as long as you're a human being existing on Earth, well, then you've experienced trauma in some way, shape, or form. And sorry, I lost for words there.
So how
It's
have
just,
you
yeah.
how have you experienced trauma? Like, what's been your own individual story, Anthony, as to
Well, we can jump into that for sure. I don't mind talking about it. So from a very early age, probably like some of you in this group, I just knew that I was different. The way I perceived the world, I had questions about everything. Social structures never made sense. Money never made sense. Just the ability to see through deception, even if it would be your parents trying to tell a little white lie to get around, I could see truth so clearly. So I was very connected to myself and to truth from a young age. And then life seemed very easy for me. I mean, I was good at so many sports. I was very athletic. I always had a good group of friends. And my dream was, like I'm here at the Footy Oval, was to play in the AFL, which is the biggest league in Aussie rules football. And that was all looking like it was going in the right direction up until, I guess, my trauma started around the age of puberty. So for me, I started to develop very, very early on, like around the age of probably of 11. And anyway, without going too deep into it, by the age of 12, I was so, whether it be anxiety, depression, so lost within my own depression and so lost within my own mind that I was essentially an empty vessel at the age of 12. I was still me on the outside, but me on the inside was just so deeply locked away inside of my own mind. And so this continued all throughout my life until my mushroom experience, which changed that. And so during that period, it was around roughly 15 years from the ages of like 11 or 12 to 26. Wow. During that time period, I did not allow myself to love or to be loved. So for almost 15 years of life, I didn't feel love in any way, shape, or form, because the only thing that I wanted was to just be gone, was for just the world to just leave me alone. So fortunately for myself, as fate would have it, this mushroom experience broke me out of that mindset.
Can I ask, Anthony, why?
Yeah.
Why did you want the world to leave you alone? Like, what had caused that? Do you know?
Yeah, for sure. It was a lot of what's the like anxiety about your own body and I don't know, but it started like that, and then it was just through my depression and all of that, I essentially lost everything. I lost my dream, I lost my desire, I lost my will, my want, but more importantly, I lost myself. So all you really want as a kid was to just be who you are. And just, I took a lot of pride in being good at footy. That's what I love. That was my dream. And the day that I stopped doing that, because my depression just took over, was the day that I felt that I could have just died that day, because I lost everything after that. And that was it. Life goes on, and then people start to move on, whether it be friends or whoever else. And it seems like you're just falling further and further behind in life, and eventually you develop this mindset where you think like, I don't know, you just get left behind, and it seems like everyone's going forward and you're not, and you just fall deeper and deeper down into this bottomless pit until you start to question, like, I don't know if I can go any further down. There is no lower to go. You just have no will to do anything. I woke up every day not wanting anything. I didn't care for anything. And eventually that'll just destroy you. So I was still awake physically. My eyes were still open, but I was not operating my system. It was on, I guess what they call with trauma, it's just a fight or flight. You're everything was reactive. There was no conscious decisions. Every decision that was made to protect myself, because if anything went down any other path, it could have been the end. So really, when I look back, I go, you're just so grateful and thankful that lucky I grew up in a beautiful family, because if my family was dysfunctional and that added to anything else, I probably wouldn't be here. If I had no friends and or I was bullied or something, I probably wouldn't be here. So again, when you can just think of like in a way of fate, everything sort of worked out perfectly. And every decision that I made, it hurt you a lot of the times to make those decisions, because family or friends or something might not understand it, because it's not what I guess you could say a normal person would do. It was done to protect myself. So I had to do it that way. It had to be my way, because if it wasn't my way, then I probably wouldn't be here. So
wow. And Anthony, so what you're saying is that the depression started to happen, but there was like no event that took place. So it seems like you had like friends and your family was great, but something internally was happening.
Yes. My whole journey has been internally. So for me, at least, I always say that what I thought was my greatest strength, which was just my pride and my strength, my ability to overcome anything. I know so deep within myself that there's nothing that I can't do. And yet then even I lost that, like I lost the battle with myself, and all the best qualities about me were just gone. There was nothing left. There was just being defeated. And then there was me. Well, I didn't even believe that I could be defeated. I was just such a strong kid. And then I was just reduced to nothing through all of it was about myself. There was never anything done to me. It was all me versus me, which is genuinely a lot of the time what most of the journey is. There is no outside influence. It's just you, the way that you perceive it, and you versus yourself. And once that became too much, life just slipped away. And before you even, it happens so fast. Sorry, man. Before you even know it, one moment you're conscious and you're in control of your life, and life just happens so fast. And days turned into months, months turned into years, and by the time you knew it, 15 years had passed, and life just slips away from you. Yes, Henry. Sorry.
No. I'm sorry. My apologies. What was the mushroom experience like, and how has that healed you? Like, what are your key takeaways that woke you up from this, 15 years?
Okay, we can definitely get into that. So it's been a very long journey. This is over the past 4 or so years, which has been probably 50 plus mushroom experiences in that time. So there's lots of healing that's been done. There wasn't just, I personally don't even believe that you can just have one experience and say, oh, now I'm healed. I always refer to it as, what they do is it opens the doors.
It's a tool, right?
After my first experience, I was like, oh, fantastic, I'm healed. Like, I'm so good to go. And then pretty much every experience after that, and excuse my English, but I sort of ate shit. Like, every time your ego is like, there's no more that I can heal. I won't have a bad experience again because I'm so healed. And every time the mushrooms would just like, hold my beer and let me show you this. But anyway, to the first experience, I'd only taken mushrooms recreationally before this time. And this night I had no one to hang out with. So I was like, well, I'll just have it by myself. So at the time I had about 10 grams of mushrooms, which is quite a significant amount. And I was just laying on my bed at nighttime by myself. I chucked some earphones in with my favorite music, which was like old school Linkin Park. And I was just laying there, and the music started to create images in my mind to go along with the beat. And I just started to feel very, at the time, I just felt the need to start massaging my head. And as I was massaging my head, I could see, like going like this, I could see the compartments inside my mind, like different compartments holding different traumas. And I started to navigate the inside of my mind and look into different memories, and to the point where I'm going back, and I described it one time as, some things that you've experienced in your life, but they're so deep at the back of your psyche, like they're so long ago that you wouldn't even remember that you've experienced them. Like it's a memory that's so insignificant, something from school, and yet it was all there and accessible. So I was going back and viewing memories that it was almost crazy. It feels like I've lived in another lifetime because it's so far away. And eventually, after, half an hour of this process, I started to feel like I wasn't okay. Now, to me, I knew that physically I was okay. I was in my house, I was safe, but I couldn't shake this feeling that there was something wrong. And I tried to walk it off and this and that, and nothing was working. And then it sort of went from the question of, I feel like I'm not okay, to an actual full-blown epiphany of, I'm not okay. Like this, I'm not dealing with life at all. Not only am I not dealing with it, but I never have dealt with it. So people say that time heals everything, which could not be further from the truth. Time heals absolutely nothing. So if anything, all time does is just leaves you to sit longer with all your issues. And once I had this epiphany that I wasn't okay, it literally blew my mind. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't actually believe that was true. I could no longer deny it. It was just there, and it was unlocked as a truth. And after all of this happened, and I digested it all this emotion came out of me, and I just I had a little cry. And after that, I felt fantastic. And I remember saying, "Thank you, I needed that." So this is just one of a very, very long journey of mushroom experiences. If I was to go through the entire journey, would be here for hours. So that was my first awakening, to actually realize that I want to be okay in life. I think I deserve it. Like, we all deserve it. We're all just trying to do our best. And the fact that I didn't even know, I thought that I was just a regular person. You experience your things in life, and then you move on. Time heals, and you just continue on with life. We all put in our big boy pants and our big girl pants, and we pretend like nothing happens, until it got to a point where I couldn't deny it. And after that experience, I was like, how is it possible that everybody goes through life like this, where everybody thinks that they're okay? Because unless it comes to your attention and it's like an epiphany, you would just think that you're just doing what you're supposed to do. You go to work, you earn your money, you have a family. And that's when my journey started. I was like, people need to know this. I was like, I can't believe it, that people are just walking around and interacting with one another while so heavily traumatized, and they don't even know it.
So do you feel like that one event is like that point of your awakening?
That's the first time I became conscious and back in control of my life again. Yes. To the point where I was unconscious. I literally was just in a cycle, lost in a cycle. I was working a job that I knew I didn't want to do from the first day that I started, which was as a concreter. 10 years later, I was still doing the same job, just doing what people do. Your bank account goes up a little bit, but I was so dissatisfied.
Wow.
And this experience here, I literally was the beginning of I'd lived 20 plus years before that, but this was the first year that I've actually lived my life and been conscious and aware and what I want from life, my intention. And then the healing journey started after that. Now it's just how many people can you reach? How quickly can you get the job done? When I think of healing, it doesn't resonate with me to take 10, 20 plus years. I think when we, both through my journey that I'm going to be going on, but also my own journey, once I start, we're going full steam ahead and there's no stopping. So I'm not looking to do 20 plus years. We're going to work, and we're going to work fast.
Yeah, and I really like what you're sharing. Thank you so much for that. And with Henry as well, because I think we need a space for men to talk about like their trauma, because like as men or boys, you were raised to like not cry and not talk about what hurts you. And it's like men don't feel pain, or, like men don't cry. And unfortunately, there's somebody in my hometown. I was raised, I was raised in Vietnam. I came to America when I was 9, and I lived in San Jose, which is like the northern part of California. It's a Silicon Valley, for 15-ish year of my life. And there's a young man that recently passed, and he killed himself. And, very established. He has some sort of media company that even, like celebrities knew him. So for people looking in, they were like, what happened? They didn't really understand. But just like hearing both of your story, it's like you really don't know what's happening internally with someone, and especially if it's something like they don't even know, that they don't have that awareness is happening within them, that they were living like that the entire time. And then I love that we're talking about psychedelic and plant medicine in a way that it's like it's attached to their awakening, like someone's awakening, and what awakening actually means. I find that's very interesting.
You feel
So
like
what
it's
do
just
you mean?
expanding.
What's
Yeah,
that?
go on, Minnie. Go on.
What did you say, Hayden?
So what do you mean, the way it's attached to their awakening? Like, can you be more specific?
Yeah, because you hear certain terms like as you get into like spirituality and as you get into psychedelic, and people would say the term awakening, right? And I understand my own awakening, but then there's like different level and depth of the awakening process. And so I think it's interesting to hear other people journey, and then where they can pinpoint the process of as to what happened or what they did that has helped them with their awakening. And just like, right, like what is awakening? And we can have like different terms based on our own process. Because I asked someone, I was like, when did you have your awakening? And they're like, which one?
Yeah.
Right? And there's been plenty. And I was like, what? Right? So it's this process of just like really wrapping my head around it while I'm listening to other people's story. And we're like, wait. So I find Anthony's story was actually very fascinating.
I
Me
feel
too.
like,
Like how,
do you feel like awakening is directly related to truth? Because the way that I like to try and describe it through my experience is that the truth about everything already exists within all of us, because the whole universe exists inside all of us. So whether it be the truth about everything that's happened in your life, all the good things, all the bad things, your understanding of yourself and other people, it already exists within you. And the reason I refer to it as truth is something that you unlock inside of yourself is sort of been related to the levels of awakening or expanding your consciousness, is that it's always been there. But once you expand your consciousness, you're able to be aware of it, and you can see it so clearly. It's like when the truth is unlocked, you can no longer deny it. Like you can't perceive it any other way, because it literally changes the way you perceive the world. And that's why I like to say with the journey is that it can be the best or the worst thing, depending on your perspective, to happen to you. It's always the best. Don't get me wrong. It's always the best. But
Always.
unless you're not ready for it, because once you go down it, there's no going back. Once you've unlocked, you can perceive the world a certain way, and you can perceive certain, people can call it certain evils or certain agendas and stuff that goes on. If it's too much too soon, it's enough to really drive you crazy, which is why it's very careful to not force it. And, certain things, you have to be ready for it. And to an extent, people use the phrase, like it will find you, in a sense, which sounds a little bit cliche, but it's so true. Because if you unlock it too soon and you're not ready to see or understand certain things, it can be pretty detrimental.
it's hard to come back into this world and like knowing all that you know of who you are and your remembrance, and to just like, okay, well, I'm just gonna go back to where I was now, and then just pretend that you didn't know who you are. Or right, and like what reality actually is. It can be very disorienting if you don't have a support system, other people who have gone through the journey and the process to support you in that, and being like, yeah, you're not crazy, like I get it. When I myself I just call myself Cosmic Mimi because after that it's just like, that's just who I am. I'm a starseed. And I thought it was so funny because last year Henry and I had went to like a high school friend wedding. Right? And then it was just like, it was already weird. Like people in my world at some point, they don't know what Reiki is. And Reiki is like one of the more mainstream thing in this world. But then it was just like, oh yeah, Cosmic Mimi, like when they were introducing me like in the round circle. And I just thought that was hilarious. But it was such a win for me. That I was like, yay, I'm being received. Like it felt so good, right? Of being received for who I am. That just felt like it was the truth. But like, yeah, I love that.
So you had your own really interesting realizations during ayahuasca as well, didn't you, Mimi? And if you could you share a bit of that as well, just so people can identify with your, sort of cosmic aspect.
Yeah. I'll talk about like the first one. I wonder if, but I feel like that was one of the things that's relatable for people. That is, it's very like something this lifetime is really important. It must be shared, like the divine feminine healing. Um, so just relating back to what you said, Anthony, about trauma, like I'm learning something new today because I didn't know that an event didn't have to happen for someone to have like to feel like they have trauma, they're carrying trauma and to have depression. Because I thought it's because there was an event that happened to me that I have depression and I have PTSD and I've been carrying this trauma, right?
We could get into that after. I'll carry on.
Yeah, I just like, wow, that's okay. So for my trauma, there were a couple things, and I could like come back to it. One of the biggest, I'll talk about three trauma that I've been working to understand, having a sense of awareness around my own trauma. First thing is moving from a country and had a really great life, coming to a new country, was promised the American dream. And so why did my life all of a sudden got shittier? No one was telling me about why my life changed. I'm 9 years old. There was no communication why I was uplifted, putting somewhere else, and then life just completely went dark. What happened? No one communicated that. So I moved from a big city in Vietnam, had a beautiful home, 3-story, great life. Now I'm living in a mobile home at a small room with my parents and not really understanding and processing that. I go to a school where I'm being made fun of because I don't understand what anybody's saying. I'm saying, stop it. They thought I was calling them stupid. And then now people are like gaining up on me. And it was terrifying. It was fucking terrifying. And alone and scared and not having like the language to communicate. I couldn't speak up about my need. I couldn't, and then at some point, things started to get confusing because my parents spoke Vietnamese and now I'm taking on English. So there's even a language barrier with my parents, my closest people. I'm the only child. So that's the first trauma. Another one was moving into another home. And so I've always had psychic abilities, didn't know that. I think it was through my lineage. I come from a lineage of healers, but my mom have always suppressed it. And she's like, we don't talk about that. And so I move into this home. Now I'm 13. And this home, I was experiencing like spirits. And it was really scary. And I would like get woken up in the middle of the night and it'll be like, I don't know, 3:33 a.m. or something like that. And I'm terrified and I would experience like sleep paralysis. And I'll hear a whisper and I'm just like, can't sleep, staring up and just being completely terrified as a teenager. And I would go to school, haven't slept, and would sleep in first period. So that was so scary and didn't have the ability to communicate that with anyone. And not even until like I'm 20. And my mom was like, what? That was happening in your world? Like, how come you never told me? Like, how come I didn't know that? And then because of all those experiences, then now I somehow ended up like in a terrible abusive relationship. And that was like my first relationship. I was physically abused, I was sexually abused, I was emotionally abused, like all the things that could a little girl or a teenage girl should not have experienced. Like that was now my world. Feeling completely alone, not having anybody who could really understand what was going on inside of all that world. And this person that I really didn't really understand what he was going through his process. It took me 2 years to find out he was smoking crack. That's super extreme, right? Like I was completely an innocent kid. I didn't know anything about drugs. I didn't even know what crack was. But the environment I was brought in was like really harsh, right? Immigrant parents, kids, you know, Asian kids are like moving here where their parents are working all the time, not being there. So there was like a lot of violence at school. At 16, 18, my friends started dying from car accident, from drug overdose. I remember, you know, like just watching friends at a party, like smoking crack in a pipe and being like, you want some? And I'm like, no, thank you. Everybody would go outside and smoke cigarette and I would just sit there. But, you know, so I had that drug exposure, like it was always available and all around me. But it was really where, and then I picked up that working would save me. So I started working at 14. I would work 3 jobs, you know, and went to college and really was around that kind of environment. But I always knew that I needed to get out. I needed to take care of myself. Like at this point, I already take in the belief of the world that this world's not safe. I need to have my own back. I gotta work to make sure I'm taken care of. I'll have an education. So by 14, I was already working, providing for myself. At 19, I was working 3 jobs while going to college, 24 years old, got a college degree. And then I remember one thing my mom said was, get a college degree and you can do whatever you want. That's all I could remember. I was like, okay, done deal. So I got a college degree and I said, okay, are you guys satisfied? Because I'm the only child. Are we good? Goodbye. And I moved now to where I'm still living in Orange County next to the beach, which my starseed self always find home. Like I just have that soul remembrance. Maybe it's Lemuria, maybe it's Mikotan, I'm not sure. But when I read about Mikotan, that the original light worker who is from the planet Orion, that's Mikotan. So when I did Hayden starseed origin reading, then it said that Henry and I are both our soul originated from Orion. We're both projector too, by the way, in our human design. So yeah, like there's a lot of alignment there. And so understanding that's, you know, really what my human life, like some of the trauma I was carrying. And now, you know, very blessed to have met Henry at the right time. And when the medicine path really came to us, and sitting with Daime for the first time, it was so beautiful because I feel like that was after 13 sit with the medicine, that was my most connected sit with grandmother ayahuasca, because I heard her, I felt her. And one of the things that she said to me from the very beginning, as soon as I start drinking the medicine, I mean, it was such a most profound experience I ever had, was that all the things that you've gone through in life that was so hard, like this is like finally you're coming to the end of it, right? And not considering by the time I was there, I had my first business, brick and mortar. Brayden was one. Henry is going through his own shit. That was like, what is going on? We're newly married. We have a baby. We have a business. Now I'm in a lawsuit, right? And I'm working 7 days a week. Like I had all these business partners. They're nowhere to be seen, like already jetted off. Here I am with all these things. Like, what am I going to do? And for some reason, I said, grandmother ayahuasca, she's going to help me. She's going to have the answer. I'm going to be able to change my life just having this experience. So because I was in such a deep hole of my own creation somehow, that I'm there, that I didn't have fear. I had more excitement because it's like, there's only up from here. Like, let's do this. I'm so excited to just unlock everything. So sitting with the medicine, because I had such excitement, such childlike wonder, the experience was profound. She received me in such a beautiful way, was very reassuring, like, it's okay. That was the worst of it. You're gonna, you know, experience a lot it's gonna go on up. And then like I remember purging, like I was throwing up to the vortex of the water, and then I knew I was purging guilt, I was purging shame, because it's like, why is somebody having an experience happen to them and now they're being ashamed, right? Like, why am I carrying that shame because of something someone else did to me that was out of my, so like, why are we carrying that shame? So I purged, and the shame and the guilt had went down. And she's like, do you want to purge selfishness? And I was like, that was fine. I really wish at that point I had told her, yes, please take that away. I was like, I was such a brat. I was like, I'm keeping this one. I guess I still wanted to live, I don't know, another 5 years. I'm like, at some point I really pray that I'm going to have that chance to just like let that go. Because I've been living and working through that after that journey 5 years ago. And then, so that purging came, guilt and shame is gone. Now I'm holding on to my womb, and I'm at this point I already had Brayden, and I had this it's called an IUD, where women have it inserted within themselves. It's a type of copper, so that you don't have a baby. And so that was messing up my womb. It's very detrimental to a woman's cycle system, and it's just not natural. And so I felt like so much pain in my womb, and it took me like a long time to like really heal, through that physical pain, emotional, and all of that, and from the trauma. And so at this point, and also after a woman gives birth, she experienced so much trauma, because the medical system, where we're being numbed, we're not really understanding how much blood was lost, because you can't feel anything. You're just like thinking that you can just get up and go. And so there's like trauma a woman go through as well that they're not aware of after they give birth. And so in this so profound ceremony, I'm holding my womb. I look down at her and I apologize to her in the most honorable, respectful way I've ever treated my body. And I said, I'm so sorry for how I've treated you. You're the giver of life, and you birth miracles. And that was the first time where I really felt self-compassion and understanding in an experiential way of what that feels like. And then right after that, I took out the IUD and like allow my body to heal naturally. Also in that experience, there were things about like Jesus and like, and Hayden, you were also the person that brought up, hey, you should look into the Essenes. And I didn't know who the Essenes were. And that's like very ancient things that's not very easily found. But, when the right time it would come. So there were things about like the old Jerusalem, and there were just very ancient things that I feel like has been part of my soul, that started to unlock. And at that ceremony, it came about. So I was holding a book that had prayers in Portuguese, because that's, the Daime tradition. When you sit in a circle, you would sing the hymns, and it will be in Portuguese, so that you're creating a vibration of positive frequency. And whenever you go off, they would invite you to come and sit in that frequency. So that's why it's nice to have a ceremony where you have shamans or space holders that can, and in this culture, they call it padrino and padrinas, that would anchor in the positive energy and hold that. And so I would look at the book, and it started to come, like the light come off, and it was like living words, right? And it was such a beautiful connection to that lineage that I feel like my soul really craved, because I was playing with oracle cards, and it would come about grandmother Anna, which is the grandmother of Jesus. And I have like, read into like her story as to, they were living like 900 years back then, but she would travel to Egypt and scribe, right? And she was working with the goddess Isis. So I feel like there's so many things with that ceremony that was unlocked for me, that it's not easily accessible just in a normal process of connecting. like it was such a profound connection. Yeah. So I kind of chime in with the mystic stuff with the regular human healing trauma.
Well, it's interesting what you've said as well. Is like both what you and Anthony, and to some extent Henry, have all got in common is that what kind of instigated your exploration into plant-based medicine, whether it's mushrooms or ayahuasca, was feeling like you were at rock bottom. Maybe not so much Henry, but certainly you two. You felt like there was only one way to go, so it was almost like got to give this a crack, otherwise. And I wonder why. That's why I've never tried it, because it's like everything about my body and like my mind is saying, I want to go. I want to do this. I want to try it, and then, but I don't. It's like motivation isn't there because I haven't I don't feel like I'm at rock bottom or something. Maybe I missed my opportunity.
Yeah. Do you feel like you need to be though? Like, I guess for myself, just my own experience, like I didn't consciously know that I was at rock bottom. I guess my soul did, but
yeah.
like I can't stress enough for myself that my entire journey has been one giant accident. None of this was intentional, which again, you
100%.
can put it down to if you're into fate or whatever you want to call it, but it just happened. Didn't wake up one day and like, let's go down this journey and let's be spiritual. Let's learn about the universe. But at least what I've been shown through the mushrooms again is that I didn't choose to go through like mushroom shamanism. The mushrooms chose me. So
just like
I resonate with that 100%. I mean, my first journey was in 2019. 2019, 3 days before that, I had no plan for this. I don't know what this is going to entail. Like, it's totally accident. To your point, Anthony, it's not like, hey, I should do this because ayahuasca, blah, blah, blah. Everything comes as if like the universe kind of nudged me there. My soul literally nudged me there. And honestly, I don't think I had control, to be honest with you, because everything flows so quickly. It's like one day, ayahuasca research, and then boom, next week, boom, 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 boom. And then, okay, here I am sitting in the journey. Oh, here I am. Shit. What did I just do? I just took a cup of something, and then this is what I'm feeling like. And that moment, the whole reality changed. Like reality is everything becomes an illusion. Like Anthony said, society and how it's ran and like our financial system and like like once you go down to that rabbit hole, it's like, and it's not like about going down rabbit hole. It's like I had no choice. Like it just lead me to this awakening. Like, wake the fuck up, bro. This is not the reality. It's just an illusion of
wake the fuck up, bro.
Yeah, that's what it is. And then like, oh, okay, and then like I'm just now the hard part. Well, not hard part is the key part is integration, right? Like how you had trauma, so you had trauma, you went through a journey, right? You had your one of many awakenings, to say, your first awakening. But the key is how do you integrate what your what your lessons are from that journey, and your will to integrate that, because it's very easy to drift back into the matrix, right? It's really easy to be sucked back into the matrix. And then, the integration part, like I'm so blessed to have my wife, to be honest with you. Like, had it not been for her, I'm still like, right? But had not been for her,
I'm like, wake up, we're drinking ayahuasca.
Yeah.
That's on the itinerary this weekend.
That's the sort of partner you need.
Yeah. And now,
this is what we're doing.
Now, like, I'm able to operate in the matrix, but I have the tools and the awareness of like the way of my actions, the way I speak to people, the way I can sense when I'm becoming angry. I notice the energy is coming up. Okay. And then I'm able to like feel it in my body and then adjust it and then breathe it out of my body. Like I've done a lot of breath work. So everything is just, God in the universe. If you have faith and if you just surrender and honestly take a cup of truth and guarantee at the end of everything, you realize it's an accident that you get into this world. It's not, it's like you've been led to it. And Hayden, to your point, you hear so much about it, and then just right now you're just not, your soul's like, Hayden, you're good. Like your soul itself knows what you want, right? So it's like, Hayden, you have done so much work in terms of, like numerology, light colors, and like your gift is, you don't, maybe perhaps you don't need to have awakening. Maybe you are already ready, right? So it's like, yeah, man, it's like you gotta be led to it.
You see, I don't think that anyone's like done, so like for me, I'm fully aware that we're all on this journey of healing, and I know that I've got demons, and I know that I'm not addressing some of my demons deliberately, because it's like, and I think that's probably the fear that stops me from exploring it, because it's just like, it's just, I just don't think I can cope with going there, so and I'd rather, and I think that's why I've chosen like a more gentle route, like with color therapy, because it's allowing me to get there, sort of in my own time. And I totally agree with what Anthony was saying earlier on as well, about time isn't the greatest healer. It just means you sit with, the trauma for longer. I totally agree with that, but it's almost like, it feels like that's my only option at this stage with regards to, the shadow aspects of, my past and stuff. So it's, yes, I am awakened,
Hey, we're totally putting you on the spot, which I'm loving.
Oh, you want to know?
Be-
Do you want to know what I've done?
No.
All right.
No. I mean, we would love to, yes. We want the detail. If we all had to dish out, but I'm interested, because it's really interesting that you brought it up, because I feel like that's a lot of what people's fear are, like having to either relive it or going through something really horrible once you experience it. But I'm curious, because you know how I talk about like the trauma, and then my first ceremony, it was just cleared. She just say, hey, everything's gonna be okay. And then like I purged out the guilt and shame.
Yeah.
But then like that trauma, like I didn't really have to face it or like anything, and it just cleared out of my story and system. So like, yeah, I'm curious to like, if you've had that perspective, that if you're in there, like you wouldn't have to face anything dark. And what if you receive things that are like, Hayden, you're so great. Like all the angels are singing for you, which I've received, by the way.
That's what I want. I want to experience that bit, and I want to go on the spaceship, but I don't want to have to look at all that other stuff again. I don't want my brain to be compartmentalized and for me to have to explore all the little bits. It's like,
Hayden, that's the fun part.
But he might not experience that.
He might not, absolutely.
That's my point. You might not go through that. Who knows? But your soul knows. Maybe your soul knows what you might experience, and you're like, no.
I just think, has anyone ever had an experience where you've been able to perceive yourself, but through the aspect of somebody that you've encountered? Like you can see your own being, but from their perspective. Because I've had multiple experiences on mushrooms. You hear with like near-death experiences, how you go through life reviews. Are you familiar with that? Going through a life review?
Yeah.
So I've had about roughly 5 life reviews where I've gone through my entire life, but experienced my being through the perspective of everyone and everything I've encountered. It would be the trees, the blades of grass, like. So it literally is showing you that you are all of that. Everything. You are the source. You are the grass. Dang. You are that. So, which is the reason why I was able to view myself through that perspective. So you get to a point where you just know yourself so well, because I've seen myself, and there's no more judgment. Like there's no darkness or trauma left to view. I've literally been through it so many times that I can proudly say that today. And I'm obviously very proud of how far I've come in my journey from where I was, which once upon a time, I believed that I could never even get out of it. There was just a pit so deep, or there was just a hole in your heart that could never be healed. And so from where I am today, it's like, just what a hell of a journey it's been. and it's been the hardest thing in the world. Probably nothing harder. Would I even do it again? I say no, but sure, fuck it. But
100%.
it's been
100%.
every emotion that you can possibly experience, the good, the bad, the straight insanity, the connection to everything, the epiphanies, where if you were to tell an average person something you've experienced, they would think that you're a complete loony. But because if you were like, I am you, you are me,
We are one.
we're all fragments of the same thing.
Yes.
I think I said this in the last podcast that on plant medicine, that you are the source. There's literally no separation. So the source is using a fragment of itself, whether it be the mushrooms, or ayahuasca, whatever it is, to heal a fragment of itself, which is your individuality. So it's just the source using an aspect of itself to heal another aspect of itself, but it's still you. Like, you are it, and it is you. So there is absolutely no coincidence. Nothing happens by accident. And that's a very hard thing to come to terms with, because most people would, if you tell them that everything terrible that you've experienced in your life absolutely needed to happen, the first time I was forced to see that and experience it, it's a very hard pill to swallow, because you always want to feel like you've got a choice. Like, why did that need to happen? Why? And then you finally learn to accept it and go, if I'm happy with who I am today, and if I understand the journey, and if you truly understand yourself and where you're going, you know, if you're not defined by who you've been in the past, but who you want to be, you must know that it's absolutely necessary. So obviously in my own story I was telling before, there was aspects that I left out because it's hard to remember everything off the top of your head. But all of those things needed to happen. And I've seen that it needed to happen. It can't be any other way. I can't believe anything else because I've seen it and felt it. So obviously somewhere during that time when I was younger, my dad passed away, but I was around the age of 13, but I was never able to properly mourn his death because I was so lost in my own depression and stuff, which actually hurt you more, the fact that you were never able to even process it. One moment they're there, next moment they're gone, 10 years plus later, and you've never even dealt with it. You never really got to say anything. You never got to be there for them because you were just so lost in your own issues, among with a million other things. So it was just, felt like life was just kicking you down until there was no further that you could go down. But yeah, now you can just smile, and it's a hell of a journey, and you know, it's all very relevant, and it's it puts you back in touch with the universal flow when you stop trying to control every little thing. Once you give up the need to control, you actually redevelop the connection with the universal flow, where you don't need to try to make things happen. Life isn't hard. Things start to happen for you instead of happening against you. It's when you fight against it that the universe, it's like you're magnets, but going in the opposite direction. The universe wants to happen for you, but you need to allow it to.
Yeah, and I feel like this
very
whole
cliche.
thing,
Like, it sounds like words that I'm just saying, but once you've seen it and felt it, it can't be any other way.
well, and I think okay, so maybe we don't heal with time, but there's this thing about divine timing, because you will have your teachers tell you things and you will receive all these bits and pieces, but there comes a time when you're ready and you've done enough work to fully embrace all of that and integrate that, and then start to living from that point. So, you know, I would say that I thought that sitting with the medicine, my life is just going to be 180. But then if you've just been heading this way and you haven't been listening to yourself, your soul, or the universe, right? You've just been completely tuning everything out, then it takes time there's a release period where you're going to go and you're going to release everything that's not in alignment. And so it's like, you don't drink the medicine and come back and your life has changed. You do the work to change your life based on the lessons you've learned, being at the frequency of you are, understanding this is a vibrational match, this isn't. So therefore, I'm releasing that. And then now, like, every day is that choice of like, do I want to do this now, knowing everything that I know? Do I want to have a relationship with this person or develop a relationship with this person? Like, have you learned? And have you?
It's because your perspective evolves. And as your perspective evolves, your life evolves. So everything is really just about perspective. Like you said, the medicine itself, it's not like you're just going to take it and life just changes and everything's so happy and euphoric. What it really does is just expands your mind. It allows you to perceive things in a way that you didn't before. And as your perception of reality changes, your reality changes.
And it's like, are you willing to listen? Because, you know,
Yeah.
people receive certain information like you're not with the right partner, and they come back and they stay with them for 5 years. So, like we're saying, then that's another 5 years.
That's where an
right?
epiphany will happen, where you can only not listen so much until you cannot listen no more.
Yeah.
So it will eventually, if you stick with it and it's something that you continue with, you can deny certain truths, and whether you call it the ego, call it whatever you want, but something will try and fight it, and it will try and try and try until it can just fight no more. The truth will be unlocked inside of you, and you can no longer deny it.
So how are you guys going to like integrate everything that you've learned from, you know, all of these experiences, like to be able to, you know, perform this kind of role in the new earth? You know,
well, I'm dying.
Do you know what you've been guided to do?
Well, I'm dying to share that when I'm in the experience, I have been taken to the spaceship. I've seen like this like sea, like it looks like the ocean, but it's like the universal ocean. And that's like a sight to see from the spaceship. It's so beautiful. And so and then I would get these like codes, and I just know they're celestial codes. And it's like very high Egyptian, but high tech, that something to be experienced in that space, and like very hard to put it out in words, you know, like they're just like not from this world.
Yeah, so words can't explain the experience very well. But like knowing that, you know, that's obviously a huge epiphany, you know, it's a beautiful experience to have. Like how is that, you know, how is that helping to shape who you are and what you do? You know, like the integration aspect.
Okay. I want to step into this question real quick here. For me, you know, the integration part is the most important. Like, how do you stay grounded, and how do you stay connected to your truth? And I believe it comes with discipline. You know, discipline to have a daily routine where you set yourself for success, to get integrated. You know, for me is every morning, first thing when I wake up is I just sit in silent meditation. Right, I sit in silent meditation, and sometimes I listen to alpha hertz. You know, just to like focus, just imagine of what I envision this world, what I envision for my health, my wife, for planet Earth, and how I want to see it. And then after that, you know, I go out in the sun right away and put my feet on the ground, get connected to Mother Earth, be one with Mother Earth, and do breathing. Breathe. You know, our body is essentially our Earth spacesuit. You know, it's not just a body. It's not like we have to treat. Imagine this is our spacesuit. Okay, imagine right now you are in the universe, right? We are in the universe on this planet, on this rock, right? And this is our spacesuit, and we have to nourish it, feed it correctly, treat it with love. You know, like I just learned that abundance comes through your body. If your body is a vehicle, it's the source of your vibration, right? It's where your chakras reside in your body. You know, so I take care of my body and I treat it well. By treating well, I breathe, I give it air, I give it prana. I do breathing practices, and I get my bare feet grounded in the earth for 20 minutes a day. You know, that's my like non-negotiable. Like I must do it every single day. Of course, you know, there's some days that, you know, I can't because of scheduling. And then at nighttime, I also practice meditation and I journal, you know, practice my gratefulness, what I'm grateful for today. I thank God, thank the universe, thank my wife, you know, and what did I learn today, even from my even from my mistake, the question I ask myself is, what could I improve today? And what did I learn today? You know, like who have I helped today? So, you know, invest in yourself. You know, have meetings. The way I put it, schedule a meeting with yourself. You know, we schedule meetings with all the people. Oftentimes, you know, we look at calendar, a meeting with this person A, B, C, and yet we don't have a scheduled meeting with ourselves, right? So put yourself first every single day, and just treat yourself well with love and speak to yourself gently. We're doing the best we can. You know, everything at the end of the day, this is just our soul evolution. And it's all about the journey, right? And once we honor who we are, our soul, and that's how we can create this new earth. It's, you know, how you want to change the earth is through ourselves. It's within. And the more of us are awakened to change and heal our inner world, and that will change our outer world. That's the ultimate manifestation every single day that I envision. Is the more of us wake up, we work on healing, we heal ourselves, especially men and women. I'm very grateful to have this conversation with you, brother Anthony and Hayden, you know, because we are in the same frequency, same vibration. We understand, we get it. And if we talk to someone that haven't been through this journey before, it may sound like, you know, these people are wow, you know. But yeah, these people are wow. We all wow, because we are front runners of helping this. We're like that stable, you know, that light that's like, you know, God is like, we have one light here, we have another light here, we have another light here. And more of us work on our inner work and heal ourselves, we become this light again. And just the whole planet is going to wake up with light, and just boom, everything is in light now.
Can I share something, Henry?
Yes, sir.
As you were saying, that your inner world is your outer world. First of all, I love that because it just resonates so deeply. And I created a saying. It goes, conquer yourself, then conquer the world, be a conqueror. And the meaning to that is that when you conquer yourself, so essentially you're conquering your inner world, your outer world is a manifestation of your inner world. So once you conquer yourself, then you can conquer the world, and then you can be a conqueror, because everything's easy. Once you've completely healed yourself, life becomes easy. If I can only use myself as an example, but there is nothing more that this world can offer me that I don't already have. There's no boats, cars, houses, don't care. None of it, don't care about any of it. My complete mission now is only to give back. There's nothing else that I can attain except for giving people what I have. So I know, Hayden, you asked, you know, how can we integrate that and sort of manifest that in a way that can achieve these goals? I've known from a very young age, from about the age of 6, that I had the ability to heal. I've never had any clarity around how I can do that or whatever, but I just knew from a young age that I could. And now it's crazy that I knew that from a young age, and then you lose yourself, and then you find yourself, and then the journey ends up where we are now. So it's crazy the way everything works out. And I'm meant to be doing a course this year, which is through the practice of kinesiology, but it's actually a multi-dimensional healing course. But for some reason, I just don't feel, I know that I love healing and it's what my future is, but I just don't feel connected to that particularly. And then through this online, this Zoom meeting we done, I met Mimi and she's talking about ayahuasca, and then this comes up. And now this, because of my journey through mushrooms and plant medicine, this I feel super connected to, because I owe literally my entire life. I owe everything that I have and everything that I've gotten back to the plant medicine. So once I go and do my journey now, and there's some other things I'm going to do there, the whole point is to get clarity about, although I know I'm going to be involved in healing, which direction to take. I'm looking to come back with so much clarity about just what exactly I'm meant to be doing. So that, if to answer your question about how you can integrate it or what the process is, I hope to be able to share that with you by the time I come back.
Yeah, and I felt that energy from you, Anthony, from like the first call as
I
to
remember.
how, because we have that question that you know, it's circulating, like what lights you up, and it's like, how am I supposed to know what lights you up? But you get feedback. Like I get feedback from others when I talk about something, my energy just shifts.
Yeah.
So like we're here because this topic light us up, and it gives us an opportunity to speak about things courageously. I mean, this is public and this is forever, but we are willingly sharing this information with others with an open heart and open mind. It's because of how much we believe. Like I can speak for myself for plant medicine and what I've received it from her, and through my personal experience, how it helped others, right? And I just like, I get so excited to like be able to share that. So Anthony, when you talk about mushroom, and like we would like giggle about certain things when people like talk, because it's just that connection. Like we get it, we understand, because we have that connection with plant medicine,
Such a
you
perfect way to
know.
describe it. I was trying to tell my brother about this the other day because he was interested, but he was just asking questions that I couldn't give him the answer to. So I was like, there's nothing that I can tell you to make you understand what I've experienced. And I was like, it would be like me going to a rocket scientist and going like, hey man, I'm really interested in this. Can you tell me about it? But he ends up speaking a language that I don't understand. So despite me being interested, there's nothing that he can say to make me understand something that I don't. And it's got nothing to do with the other person. But if I talk to somebody else who we might have had different experiences, but they get it though. So we actually don't need to say words to one another, because you can mention like a phrase or a slight thing and they'll just smile because it'll resonate with them. And that smile is all that you need. There's nothing that needs to be said besides an understanding that they get it.
Yeah, for
It's like
sure.
that. It's like that, you know, saying, like when I see you, it's like, I see you, right? That's all you need to hear, right? Like
Yeah.
if I see you, Anthony, like all I need to say to you is, I see you.
Yeah, we can
What's
talk
the
it
thing from
up, but then
Avatar?
That's it. And then you will respond to me, I see you too, and then we will get it. Like we would get it. It's like, okay,
and Hayden, you're completely right. Like there's nothing gentle about any of this.
But embrace it though. Embrace it. Love it.
That's the thing where, and that's why it's a calling type of thing where you're just connected to it. There's a reason why, like we say, she chose us, right? And to our last call, I'm like, I'm her ambassador, because it's like, yeah, like the whole thing, like I didn't choose it. I didn't know like this is how I'm gonna feel about it. But it's just, yeah, it's a gift. It's a calling type of thing, right?
I love it. I absolutely love hearing this, and I just can see all of you guys, working with plant-based medicines and inspiring people to explore themselves and to match, to conquer their inner world so they can conquer their outer worlds. I can see you guys really going from strength to strength with your business as well, Mimi, the Goddess Playground, which is in its infancy at the moment, but such a good feeling about that. And Henry, I can see you joining that whole business as it evolves, and even who knows, Anthony might get involved in some level with it as well, if it's not with that, with certainly with his own stuff. So
honestly, what I would love to have is like my own facility. I would love to be able to project out to other people. If you come here for 2 weeks to this facility, you will not leave the same person that you came here as. And that to me just makes me feel good saying that. And just knowing that somebody could come for it would blow their minds if you're not already in it. They'll be like, what, in 2 weeks? You're sure? Like I'll be like, whatever you think your problems are, whatever is holding you back, we will clear it. And I want to say that proudly and have people around me, whoever else is facilitating or involved with it, to be really proud of your product, that people can come there and feel safe and work efficiently.
And for my integration, I would say is like really owning this cosmic aspect of myself, understanding that I can create my own world, like being here, like this is the world that I choose, right? Because this is a world itself. and that I'm creating the goddess playground because that's a playground I want to be playing in, right? And bless Henry that he is still tied to corporate America right now, but that is not forever, right? And it just brings me so much joy. Like, damn, I made a good business out of the goddess playground.
Do you
Like,
mind expanding on the goddess playground a bit?
yeah. It's always sat with me. So my second ceremony 5 years ago, when I sat with the medicine, I said, what is my purpose? Right? Like, thank you for this divine feminine healing, all of this. But I'm really here for my career. I'm highly ambitious. And they said that they said I'm a prophet. And this is the first time I ever said it out loud and really owning that. So, and then they said that you will help heal the humans in mind and body and have faith. And like you said, Anthony, it's like, which way do I go about it? So that's what I've been sitting with for the past 5 years, and just learning and implementing from different teachers. And the Goddess Playground came to me as beginning of this year, but that's because I've closed up everything in the past because the energy kept lingering and then I just kept bringing it on. But the moment I decided to cut and clear all the other businesses, and then the Goddess Playground came, and it's a name. And then everybody said, when you say it, they're like, I want to be part of it. They don't even know what it is, right? I want to be part of it. That sounds amazing. And then the more that I sit in it, I talk about it, I'm treating it as a real business. More came to me. So I realized through my own journey and listening to all the women is that the first phase is that you get really, really burnt out. You're overdoing, you're overexerting, you live your life a certain way, and now you're burnt out. And what's next? So that seeker, like I would hear the word seeker, but what does that mean? But it's like seeking more from life. And so like that's the first phase of like now being curious. So however people wake up, like they'll start to explore with the Oracle deck or maybe Crystal. Like Crystal has always been very, makes sense to me because frequency, like vibrational medicine. So there's certain things at the soul level, like I just knew. And then the second level is like, someone diving deep. And then third level is plant medicine. So I'm creating playgrounds for women at different level of their awakenings that they're going to be able to come in and play. And it's just like really co-creating. So yeah, it's just different modalities and things that are coming through, but I'm a connector. I curate people and I bring them into the playground, and then we get to have a beautiful experience. So there's something that it's, in your, I can't say it out loud, but it's within the field of creation right here that it's all manifesting. And then I know what Hayden was saying is that there are things, there's a ceremony that I've had where the angels sing and they said the portals, when we do this kind of work, the portals are open. Right. And Henry and I were chosen, like we're like space warriors and we were asked to come here. Right. And then, but the time hasn't came yet where the world doesn't know what they need from us yet. So in that ceremony, I'm like, okay, should we go back and like take a nap? Like, when are you guys going to figure out what you need from us? Because I'm here. Do you need a new light code language? Do you need, like, what do you need? Tell me so we can figure it out. So I still feel like there's gifts within Henry and I that we know, our soul knows, that's dormant, right? So I'm just like putting one foot after another and creating things as I go at the level that I am and the connection that I have. But there are things that are still really dormant that will come alive when it needs to and when humanity needs it and when they're ready for it. Then we're gonna bring it, and we have a whole crew.
I think we're all just getting started, really.
We just
Right?
getting started.
Hayden, you were saying like you guys haven't even really,
I literally feel like I'm in the first gear, and then once it starts, like really starts to shift into second and stuff, it's just going to skyrocket. I was at least told through the last reading I got done. I don't get readings done often. I've probably had 2 done, but this woman told me that my guides were looking to propel or fast track my evolution, I guess. And I'm just like, yo, thank God. Like, let's do this thing. Like, what's taking so long? So I think for all of us, like, we're at whatever level we're all individually at now, but literally once this whole thing starts and the world starts to change in the best way, it's going to change so quickly. I just believe that so deeply. It's not going to take as long as people might think.
And I don't think we have to do it alone. The whole concept with the Goddess Playground is that we go faster, further, harder, easier, ease and flow and grace. It's because we're working together. That if you have an idea, someone else have another piece that you're going to need. And then that way, that's how we're going to be able to manifest and really, make change in this reality and for the new earth.
It is exactly that. It's all of that, isn't it? It's working together as a collaboration and not competition, just having the support and just as you said, the connections is the most important thing, and following the breadcrumbs. It's like you can't expect it all just to happen overnight. The discipline, Henry, that you're talking about is so important, and it's the practical steps towards the end goal, and then the meetings, the chance encounters, the vibe that you get, and taking action. And the new earth is already here. It's already here. We just have to let go of the old one.
It's just like a realization, right? Like it's never not been here. It's just, you just have to realize that it's been here the whole time. You just have to create it.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Abundance is your birthright.
Literally.
I've loved today's conversation, guys. It's been amazing. I know we've gone over by quite a lot, but I think I think everybody who's watching this today will get so much from it. And it's just been a real joy to reconnect with you all again. And I'm sure that our paths will all cross again in the future for sure. And I can't wait to see what comes next. But maybe we can all arrange to hook back up again once Anthony gets back from Costa Rica. And
that should be fun.
Find out
yes sir,
what's been happening. Hopefully, you'll get on board that craft. And
dang, Hayden, if you're gonna keep hanging around with us like this, then one day we're gonna be sending Hayden off.
Yeah.
Yep, I know it's gonna happen one day for sure.
Not a distant future. no pressure or anything, but
No.
Never.
All right, guys.
Lots of love. Thank you.
Nice to talk to all of you and catch up.
See you again soon, guys. Thanks again.
Pleasure.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.